the best man or the best woman should have the most success, not the person who looks a certain way. Let me play some of these because I do think the cuts from Pete Hegseth earlier today, talking to his generals and his admirals, is significant because what it's coming to represent is we are pushing back aggressively against the idea, basically, that diversity is our strength or that men and women are the same, and that the ability of someone basically to kick ass is not paramount inside of the military. Hegseth is saying, look, our job is to kick ass, and we're going to do everything that it takes to make sure that everyone in the military is capable of doing that. Let's listen to a couple of these cuts because I do think culturally this is significant. Pete Hegseth, cut 15.
Today, at my direction, each service will ensure that every requirement for every combat MOS, for every designated combat arms position, returns to the highest male standard only. Because this job is life or death. Standards must be met. And not just met, at every level, we should seek to exceed the standard.
This is important because I know a lot of you are in the service and they have developed this idea that there is a male standard for physicality and a female standard for physicality. And if your job is to kick ass, the standard should just be the kick ass standard, not, hey, men have to do this to qualify and women have to do this lesser ability to qualify. That doesn't make any sense when the job actually requires ass kicking. And so I think this is significant. It also ties in with this, cut 18, biology matters. Men and women are different. Listen to cut 18.
As foolish and reckless as the woke department was, those officers were following elected political leadership. An entire generation of generals and admirals were told that they must parrot the insane fallacy that, quote, our diversity is our strength. Of course, we know our unity is our strength. They had to put out dizzying DEI and LGBTQI plus statements. They were told females and males are the same thing, or that males who think they're females totally normal. They were told that we need a green fleet and electric tanks. They were told to kick out Americans who refuse an emergency vaccine. They followed civilian policies set by foolish and reckless political leaders.
This is also a standard that Hegseth is applying going forward when it comes to the generals and the admirals as well, in terms of what do you want your leadership to look like? Cut 16.
The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit. Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops? Or alongside people who can't meet basic standards? Or in a unit where standards were lowered so certain types of troops could make it in? In a unit where leaders were promoted for reasons other than merit, performance, and warfighting? The answer is not just no, it's hell no.
Okay, this is important, and the military is symbolic of this. In many ways, what the Trump administration is advocating for is a simple and basic return to the idea of the meritocracy. That is, the best man or the best woman should have the most success, not the person who looks a certain way. And that we don't need to have, and I think this is essential, integral even, we don't need to have our nation directly reflecting what the population looks like as a whole when it comes to elite jobs. And I'll give you an example from the world of sports that I've been hammering for a long time. What Pete Hegseth said, diversity is not our strength. I think that's 100% true. Now, diversity of thought matters in many respects, but what matters is that the most elite are able to achieve at the highest possible level. And let me give you an example. The Olympics are next year. The United States men's basketball team may not have any white, Asian, or Hispanic athletes on it. Think about that for a minute. Black men represent around 6% of the overall population. They are going to have 100% potentially of our U.S. men when it comes to the Olympic team that we put on the court next year. And if they don't have 100%, they're going to have 90% or 88% or whatever the math is. Overwhelming numbers. That is one of the foremost examples of a lack of diversity at elite positions anywhere in the United States. Yet, those guys are the best. If we said we need a men's basketball team that accurately reflects the American population, we would have 60% white guys. We would have 13, 14% Hispanic guys. We would have right around 12%. This is assuming, by the way, that we're willing to acknowledge there's a biological difference and not saying that women should be on the team too, because that would more perfectly reflect the American population, right? But let's say for the U.S. men's basketball team, we're only going to have men because men are better at basketball than women. That would mean if we did a perfect snapshot of America, you'd have to fire a lot of black guys. In fact, 9 probably black guys on the roster would lose their job, and they would be replaced by other basketball players that are not as good. And the result would be our basketball team would perfectly reflect American diversity, majority white, same number of Hispanic guys as black guys, Asian guy. And boy, it would be a cosmetically beautiful photo. But we get our ass kicked. The 2-year anniversary of October 7th, 2023 in Israel is rapidly approaching. And this Sunday, you're going to witness a show of support for Israel and this nation you haven't seen in a very long time. Grassroots effort to honor the memory of those lost 2 years ago in the brutal Hamas terrorist attack. You'll see Israeli flags on display in yards, storefronts, cars, everywhere. It's a movement of support for the people in Israel called the Flags of Fellowship, and it's organized by the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Millions of Americans across our nation will display an Israeli flag in honor and solidarity with the families and victims of that Hamas terror attack. You can be a part of this movement too. Go online to ifcj.org. Send a message, stand with Israel, join the Flags of Fellowship movement. Visit the fellowship online at ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org.
Hey, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And be sure to hit that like button.